Please call the roll.
Counselor Olson. Here. Counselor Bridge. Here. Counselor Bender is excused. Counselor Stenberg. Counselor McDonald. Here. Counselor Martin. Here. Counselor Finsland. Here. Counselor Herrick. Here. Counselor McKenzie. Here. And Counselor Brown. Here. I have 8 present.
Recognizing quorum will proceed.
Mike Herrick has a proclamation to read.
Yes, good evening. The proclamation I'm going to read is for recognition of volunteerism in the City of Superior. As we know, not only through last summer, but through the years, citizens in Superior have donated countless hours of their time to make Superior a better place. So after that, I'd like to read a proclamation by Mayor Bruce C. Hagan. Whereas volunteerism is an act of kindness and providing needed services that would otherwise not be available, and citizens of Superior have and continue to donate countless hours of time to make the community better. And individuals of all ages serve in settings such as schools, hospitals, gyms, shelters, senior centers, food drives, scouts, auxiliary police, local disasters, national disasters, as well as many other nonprofit organizations throughout the community. And children have set up Kool-Aid stands to help animals, and adults have had benefit dinners to help others in need of medical care. And local businesses have and continue to support many organizations with product and monetary donations. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Bruce C. Hagan, and the Common Council of the City of Superior do hereby proclaim the week of April 14th through the 20th as Volunteer Recognition Week in the City of Superior, Wisconsin, and invite all citizens to thank a volunteer. In witness of, we have here to set our hands, the seal, Bruce C. Hagan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Item 4 is approval of the minutes from the March 5th regular council meeting.
Heard the motion is second for approval. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 5 is a public hearing introduced by the Planning Department to amend Chapter 122 of the zoning code and the zoning map to rezone property south of North 28th Street in the vicinity of Catlin and Weeks Avenue from suburban R1B single-family residential and R3 apartment residential districts to R2 two-family residential district.
At this time, I'll call for a public hearing and ask those that wish to speak in favor of to do so now.
Good evening. My name is Patty Soliday. I live at 7 Queechee Street in Billings Park. I'd like to speak in favor of the proposed zoning change for Mr. Gustafson's housing development. My mother-in-law was a tenant in one of Mr. Gustafson's 28th Street duplexes for about 7 years. The comfort and ease of maintenance in that home allowed her to live there independently until age 94. More of this type of housing, all on one level and maintenance-free, is greatly needed in Superior. We are all aware of the shortage of newer single-family and multi-family homes in our city. There are also many who currently own homes in Superior that may be looking to downsize in the next few years. Some of Mr. Gustafson's homes will offer great housing for those who wish to do this. With the influx of new employees expected from Calumet, Enbridge, Kestrel, and others, many professionals will be seeking new residents for their families. They will want the type of home I own or ones Mr. Gustafson will build. We need to begin now to plan for the growth in our community and what we're anticipating. Mr. Gustafson's development helps to fill a portion of that our city's housing gap in many very positive ways. I urge you to vote in favor of this zoning change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the second time, those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. And for the last time, those that wish to speak in favor of may do so now. Hearing none, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. For the second time, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. And for the last time, those that wish to speak in opposition may do so now. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the public hearing to a close. You've heard the motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 6 is the consent agenda. You have on your desk tonight one addition to the consent agenda. It's a referral from Fire Chief Panger requesting to refer the dive vehicle bid process back to the Public Safety Committee for consideration.
Heard the motion and second to approve the consent agenda as amended. Counselor?
Just one question. Are we going to be able to get this on to next Wednesday's public safety? Do we have enough time?
Yeah, Donna's going to send out an amended agenda tomorrow.
Thank you.
Any further, Counselor?
Yeah, I think Terry has what I was going to pull.
Councilor McKenzie would like to pull item 6.21, item 1, which is the Public Works Committee recommendation.
Is there a second? The motion is second to pull 6.21, 6.22, parent 1, sub 1. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. You have before you the amended agenda? Or no?
Oh, they already voted on
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. I'm sleeping at the switch here.
Item 6.21, item 1 is the Public Works Committee recommendation from March 7th to approve the revised chapters 34 and 104 of the City Code of Ordinances.
Counselor?
Yeah, these chapters of the ordinances, they were discussed in committee. Unfortunately, it was the meeting was moved around a couple of different times. People weren't aware of that, and I think there are people that have concerns about some of the wording, and I just think that they would like to have some input in that. Ultimately, I think I would like to see at least Chapter 34 go back to committee. I know there's some people here tonight. I'm not sure if they want to talk or not, but there is a concern about getting this right, making sure that this is not only contractor friendly but homeowner friendly when the time comes where people are affected by this. So.
Are there others that wish to speak to the issue at this point, or wait till the referral hits the committee?
If no one wants to speak, I'll just make a motion to refer. But before I do that, could I add, Jeff, 104? If we approve that tonight, that will not affect any of these codes that has to do with contractors. Am I correct?
Correct. 104 is the property maintenance code, and there were some, I've got kind of a highlight list here, but a lot of that has to do with noxious weeds, long grass, the mowing issues that we come up with, trash, parked cars, abandoned vehicles and things, and that's that whole set of codes. Chapter 34 is the building code itself that applies to structures in the city of Superior. So the two are vastly different, and I guess I'll just put it out there, if the 104 is not of concern really to the people you're hearing from, if you could consider passing 104 tonight and then take a look at 34 if we refer it back to committee, and have participation at that meeting, next meeting of Public Works Committee, I think that would be valuable to address specific concerns at that time.
Mm-hmm. Could I ask maybe one of the contractors out there that if 104 is a concern? Well.
Yeah, and I had some concerns with it also, like with 104. Some of the language in there I can't agree with after trying to go through the whole thing, but I just about screwed my eyes out of my head trying to figure everything out. It's quite a project. I would like to make a suggestion. I don't think you were here then, Jeff, but when they redid the renters program, and what we did is they selected a committee of a lot of the renters, and it was open to the public too. But everybody came and we took it page by page and went through it. And then Dan explained, wherever there was questions about it, explained to everybody what the questions were and what they meant. And it took probably 4 or 5 weeks to go through it, and I know you want to get done with this, but when we walked away from it, everybody was happy, and all of the concerns were addressed, and I would really, really like to see that happen with this, because there is a lot of material to try to understand, and I know the contractors are having trouble with it too.
Councilor Olson?
The only question I have in Section 104 is Division 4, and it's the fire protection systems. And we have, as long as I've been around here, been crossing with fire inspections and building inspections. And we have also held in committee some of the fire inspections because we were going to review them more. Is that an issue in ordinances 104? Because if you got somebody going in and the fire department's telling them this is where your smoke detector goes, this is where your smoke alarm goes, this is where your carbon monoxide goes, and then the building inspection comes in on a building inspection and you've got different rules, different heights, that kind of stuff. Are we still cross inspecting? And this is the point where it becomes an expense to either a contractor, a landlord, and or a homeowner. So is that, I don't even know who I'm asking that question to.
I guess my just first blush, and I'll let Pete expand on this, but I mean, talking with Steve here, I think we've got a renewed sense of work. The two departments working together to try to clear those things up, and looking at this new code and trying to make that work so we're on the same page is our goal. So we're not telling people two different things. That obviously doesn't make a lot of sense. So,
but if we pass an ordinance and it happens again, at whose expense? That's my only concern.
Councilor Olson, if I can address your question, I think you're probably referring to more specifically Section 104.611, and that section refers it back to Chapter 54, which is being, Arthur is revising that, and there are going to be revisions to where the building codes will both be looking at it in the same way. So that conflict that we've had in the past, this ordinance directs it back to Chapter 54. Chapter 54 is being revised, and to eliminate the confusion and the problems that you're referring to. So within this housing code, property maintenance code, it's simply referring back to Chapter 54. Chapter 54 is in the process of being revised to eliminate the confusion that you're referring to. So this particular ordinance is safe in that regard because it's referring it back to 54.
But that doesn't make any sense to me, Pete. If you're revising Chapter 54, how can you enforce Ordinance 104.611 if you have nothing to go back to? If you're still revising the other chapter.
It
still exists. Chapter 54 still exists. It's just being revised.
I understand that.
Oh, okay.
But if 104.611, Division 4, Fire Protection Systems, we're going to pass an ordinance and refer back to something that's still being revised? How do we enforce that? You have nothing to enforce if you don't have the revision finished.
You would enforce Chapter 54 as it reads now.
It's being revised.
Of course it is. I get that. But until it's revised and you folks act on the revisions, it's still Chapter 54 and it's still local law. It's
So
not going to be a new chapter. There is a Chapter 54 right now.
That's correct.
So you're going by Chapter 54 as it states now. So when we pass ordinance 104, are we passing that with Chapter 54? And then a month down the road, we're going to have to make an amendment to this because 54 has been revised?
My impression was there was an interest amongst this body in referring the whole works to committee. If you're talking about passing one and not the other, and one makes reference to another chapter of the code, yeah, I mean, you would have to enforce Chapter 54 as it exists today until the various modifications and revisions have been brought forward and approved by the council. And I mean, I get that nothing I've said has brought you any satisfaction. I'm trying to think
No, not
of
at
a
all.
way to- different way to put it. There's-
what I'm hearing then is what you're interested in, Counselor, is Chapter 34, 104, and 54 be brought back for adoption at the same time so they coincide with each other properly? Is that what I'm hearing?
If we can make that in a form of a motion just to pass the rest of 104, does that work? Who's got the motion on the floor? That's what I'm bringing up, Mayor, yes. But it just, this is the complications in both, and if we've got complications, then maybe we should just, you pulled the item, pull them both.
I think for what it's worth, that to the extent there are cross-references amongst the chapters, I think in the spirit of flow or consistency, for lack of better words, you would consider referring all of the rewrites back to the committee. But to the extent you were asking, how do you adopt one and while the other is still under revision, you don't go into, you don't warp into lawlessness just because a chapter is under revision. You would still have a base chapter that exists as has existed for years presumably, and then if it were tweaked down the line by various revisions to various provisions, then that would exist at that point with the provisions. So I'll stop.
One more question. If Chapter 104, for instance, was adopted and Chapter 34 was referred back and it interfaces with 54, are there other ordinances that would conflict with each other if we didn't do them all at the same time? Is it basically confined to 54, 34, and 104 where they need to comport with each other? Mr. Kern?
Dan Curran, Chief Building Inspector. One of the things that needs to be clarified for the record is that the numerous changes that are within 104 are for clarification of that ordinance or code as referenced or tied back to various state statutes that have been redrafted and rewritten since 104 was first created. So right now, there's a considerable amount of confusion when references are given to 104. They either refer to a document that doesn't exist anymore or to a document that has been since recodified to a different chapter in the state rules and regs. So 104, exclusive of the issue with the tie back to 54 and 34, the way I see it, to make our job a lot easier and to make it clearer to anybody that's reading 104 the way it presently exists, it would make sense to me to adopt that code to eliminate the deficiency that presently exists. You think it's confusing with the aspect you're referring to. When you go in that document and you start trying to tie it back to a state code that doesn't exist anymore, it becomes even more confusing. So a lot of those changes, all those changes have been picked up in this document. And just for that fact alone, I would consider adopting that. And if you want to hold the other one out, fine. But as Frog has pointed out, you're going to refer to a document that exists now anyway, and that is enforceable. Yes, there may be confusion between the two, but I don't personally feel as though it's insurmountable in any way. And the other thing I think that we should read in here is that the ordinance is basically been created to create minimum standards for existing housing and property maintenance in the city, and to be putting this off just allows the existing situation to continue as is with little or no change. And I don't know how long, if the thing does go to committee, how long it's going to sit in there, but from an enforcement standpoint and from the standpoint of trying to do the citizens of the city a service, to me, as the chief building inspector, would be a disservice not to at least consider adoption of 104 at this point.
Dan, I'm sorry. You remember when we did the renters deal?
Right.
Yeah, and that went fairly well. You know what I mean? And when we walked away from that, Dan, everybody understood it. I got a call from 3 different contractors. I'm surprised they're not here. But they were confused about what was going on and everything else. And I think if you had a public meeting and invited the contractors to it, we could get this all out on the floor, and maybe you could get it done in one night. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, if you get into looking at the 104 document, I'll tell you, there's not that much new material in there. It's a rehash of the old stuff.
Okay, but there's some stuff in 34 also.
Well, 34 is, that does have some changes that were made to it. And the 34 is more of the building code. The property maintenance code, 104, is not the building code. It's a property maintenance code. And it's establishing a baseline under which a minimum threshold would be held throughout the entire city for all properties, whether they're commercial properties or duplexes or single families or whatever. It's that baseline document that establishes the minimum. And it's been on the books. It's not as though we're creating a new ordinance. What we're attempting to do is reduce some of the duplicity that exists between that document and 34. Some of what was in that document previously that belonged in 34 went back to 34 where it belonged. So you didn't have 2 documents telling you 2 different things addressing the same subject matter.
But still, as long as there's
it's a lot clearer than it was.
But still, as long as there's confusion out there, why don't we straighten it out now before we pass it? And then when we pass it, we know we're passing a document that we're not going to have to argue about for 6 months down the line and have people getting all messed up, and it's just not worth it.
Right.
So let's try to get it done the right way, the way we should do it. And was there any contractors on that committee that you did now?
It basically went through the Public Works Committee. They met several times regarding the document. And that was, there was notices sent out about it, and we had very little input. As I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of change to that particular document itself.
I
the
know,
meetings
but
were held, and so the thing is, if this is going to go back into a committee, hopefully it would be a Public Works Committee and not another committee, because we would like to get an active document here that is accurately reflects the codes and ordinances that are presently on the books, because right now it doesn't, and it needs to. So when we go to write an order, for example, we might, according to that document, you would reference a code section that doesn't even exist. And that kind of stuff needs to be taken out of there and clarified immediately.
Yeah, but we're just rushing into another disaster.
Yeah, well, like I said, as
and
far as I'm
I had
concerned,
requested many times that you have contractors on there to go through this with you to begin with, so we wouldn't run into this again.
the thing that we have to bear in mind, this is not creation of a new document. This is an existing document that's basically been reformatted. So that's really the bottom line. It's not a new document.
Vice President McKenzie.
Dan, could you explain again? You said that by not passing 104, we're doing injustice.
Well, there's confusion between existing state rules that have changed dramatically in the last couple of years, and I know there are references in 104 that are referring codes that don't even exist anymore. or refer you to a section, for example, in 104 or some other code section that was, there's a typo in it, so that section is wrong. It might be referring you to something that doesn't exist, or an obsolete code that's since been revised and is now a totally different chapter. It might apply to, I don't know, towel racks in a hotel when you're looking at debris in a backyard. I mean, that's the kind of issue we're running into, where it's just totally foreign in terms of the reference material. When you get into the state rules, those have all been recodified. The State Department of some of the older sections refer to ILHR, which is Industry, Labor, and Human Relations, which was since recodified into the Department of Commerce, which has now been recodified to the Department of Safety and Professional Services. And those code sections within those organizations have actually been recodified. So, and new sections created to clarify it at the state level. It's been such a mess. So they've done their part. We're trying to dovetail the two of them together, so at least we have a working document that will address property maintenance. This isn't a building code. This is, and again, it's a document that's been on the books for, well, we were in the old building across the road when this thing was done, so it's been around for 10 years. It's not as though we're rewriting the whole document. We're not reinventing the wheel. If anything, we're trying to clarify what's there. Pete can attest, I don't know if he wants to get back up here again, there's not a whole lot of new material in that document that wasn't already there before. So that's the best shot I can take. All I can tell you is that we're trying to clarify what's there, and I'm not so sure that if we're doing a disservice, there's been some propaganda floating around that we're doing a disservice to the public. It's not. If anything, this is out there to try and enhance Superior and not take it any further down the road.
Specifically 104?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thanks. Mayor, if I could, I guess if I can, if I'd like to make a motion to approve 104 and refer back to committee chapters 34.
Is there a second? Second. For the motion and second, as stated. President Herrick.
Yeah, I just want to invite all the contractors to this meeting, because it'll be very important to have your questions answered, and so us on the committee will be able to know what questions you have. So we appreciate if you could be there.
17th?
Yeah, and I believe that's scheduled for April 17th. And is that going to be 2 or the 4 o'clock time?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock? Oh, all right, thank you. 2 o'clock. So April 17th at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 7.1, Finance Director Vito is recommending the following changes to the 2013 general fund budget. Increase the grant revenue by $218,000 to account for the 2 positions covered by the SAFER grant, to increase the building inspection demolition line by $150,000, increase the fire department equipment line by $40,000 for turnout gear, and leave the balance of $28,000 in the contingency fund, or the contingency line item for unanticipated expenses.
Heard the motion second. Discussion. Councillor Finsland.
Point of order, did we pass the consent agenda?
I'm sorry.
A point of order, did we pass the consent agenda?
Yes,
I don't remember a vote on that.
we did that first before we went to...
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 7.2, Planning Director Cirque, on behalf of the Superior Public Museum's Fairlawn Mansion, is requesting authorizations to place signs in the city right-of-way for the annual garden market, May 15th, at the Superior National Guard Armory, 1 week prior to the event.
For the motion and second to approve. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Planning Director Cirque is requesting authorization to award the General Mills dock wall rehabilitation project to RGS Construction Company for $4,681,625.
For the motion and second to approve. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Planning Director Cirque is requesting authorization to award the observation services for the General Mills dock wall rehabilitation project to AMI Consulting Engineers in the amount of $74,500.
For the motion and second, Counselor?
Jeff, maybe you can help me with this. What, looking at the information in the packet, says what AMI is going to be doing. Is Nordic Underwater Services doing any work under the consulting?
Boy, that's a great question, Counselor. I'm going to defer to Nancy on this one because I haven't been involved in this
Okay.
in the least with who's working on the project or what the contract
Yeah,
says.
not that I'm aware of. Was there a specific question about them?
Yeah, Chad Scott is an owner of Nordic Underwater Services, and I would consider that a conflict of interest if he's performing any work.
He's performing this work as an engineer under the engineering firm. They do some underwater surveys if it's required in the project, but until they're actually into the project, it's not known whether they'll need to. And he bills his services under the AMI.
All right.
Questions or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Public Works Director Getzman is requesting authorization to sell excess and obsolete fleet vehicles.
Motion approved. Second.
For the motion and second, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
7.6, Public Works Director Getzman is requesting authorization to cancel the land lease agreement with SMK Aviation at the Richard I. Bong Memorial Airport and enter into a new land lease agreement with Midwest Aviation.
For the motion and second, discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
7.7, Public Works Director Getzman is requesting authorization to award the part-time observation services for the Tower Avenue reconstruction project to SEH Inc. for an estimated $51,000.
Motion approved.
Councilor Brown?
Yeah, what does part-time services mean?
Great question. Part-time in this case means for the part of the project that we need them for. Water and Light is intending to hire SEH to watch all of the water main work on the project.
Okay.
And the DOT is going to require that the city watch, and have an inspector there to watch the sanitary sewer construction, because that's 100% funded by the city. Water and Light came to us and said, our estimated time of construction is like 176 days for the water main system, and ours is estimated about 75 days. And they said we'd be willing to split that inspector's time with you on those 75 days. So we're setting into an agreement here where we would pay about 5 hours a day of this person. Water and Light would pay the other 5.
Okay.
Once our portion of the construction is done, that person would continue to bill Water and Light for the rest of the construction season for the project. But we feel if we went out and put an RFP out looking for a person for those 75 days, they're going to want us to charge us 10 hours a day to have a person on site. We don't really need a person 10 hours a day. We have some city staff we're going to supplement this person with during the project. A couple of our engineering technicians would also work out there and cut our hours down about 5 a day of inspection time.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councilor Olson?
Can you tell me why there was no PLA on this project when the city is responsible for 40% of it, especially in the infrastructure being 100% the city's responsibility?
At this point, I think you saw some of the emails from Nancy and I think the DOT a couple weeks back. The DOT and the federal funding don't require a PLA or don't use the PLA. At least the DOT doesn't use them by their practice. And under the agreement we're in with this project, the city is contributing funding for our portion, but we're not signatory on the contract, and we're not approving that contract. The DOT is administering it. So, to the best of my knowledge, that's why it's not there. And maybe Nancy can expound on that a little bit further, or Frog, but.
You have that correct, Jeff. It was posed. You are correct. It was posed to the DOT, and that was their decision. We don't have a contract with contractor to be able to enforce one.
It is my understanding that the state of Wisconsin does not prohibit project labor agreements. And in the bid specs, whether they're the owner, the city of Superior is also the owner. Did we ask if we could put a PLA in this project?
We did.
And they flat out told us no?
That's correct.
And the reason was?
It was in violation of their field manual. The federal funding component of this has a field manual. I can't remember what it was called, Frog. Yeah, and in the provision, there was a determination by the DOT legal team that it was not in compliance.
And the feds are saying this?
The DOT did.
At the
WisDOT
There's a
did.
federal DOT and there's a state DOT.
WisDOT did. Yes, WisDOT, not the federal DOT, WisDOT did.
So is this federal money being filtered down to the state and then to the city?
It's federal money billed down to the state. The state is administering the project. The city is contributing to it, so it's not filtering to the city. This is a state
I
highway.
think you meant the state's administering the project.
The state is administering it. It's federal money filtering to the state. It's a state highway, and they asked us to participate in the cost because much of it is within the city, but it is a state highway, and they administer the contract.
Well, being a taxpayer, I'm very disappointed that this didn't go through in, not only at the state level, but at the federal level. PLAs are not only not prohibited, they're encouraged all the way up to the White House's office. And to have a contractor that is coming from out of town and 40% of this being the burden of the taxpayers of Superior, this is an injustice to the people in this room and the taxpayers.
We asked about the federal order from the executive order. That executive order is for projects over $25 million on the federal level.
That's on federal
That's correct, on the federal
government
level.
projects.
And it does not apply to the states. It is a federal executive order. We did ask about that because we're aware of that as well, and it's not applicable in this case. The contractor is a Wisconsin contractor, so there is some benefit to us in a broader sense. He is a Wisconsin contractor, so.
And in the administration of this contract, which we have not approved yet, I'm sure you're aware that the third contractor was well within the 2% that's allowable by law to look into that contract to see if there was any points. I don't know how this was bid, if it was a point system, fair value contracting or whatever, but a local contractor was within 2% of the total cost of the project. Did we, as the city of Superior, look into this at all? Or did you find it outside the realm?
The city signs jurisdiction of the administration of the contract to WisDOT when we agree to accept the funds. So we do not have any say-so as far as specific contractual requirements or how the points are allocated.
Did we approach the state on this?
That is under the state's jurisdiction. I was not familiar with those requirements or what their considerations were. That is all done at the WisDOT.
It's law.
Understood, but WisDOT is the one that does that, not the city. They don't give us the contract to approve their award. We give them the authority to make the award when we accept the grant. When we made the resolution in 2008, we gave them that authority.
So we gave the authority to the state to control what we do in the city of Superior.
That's correct.
It's terrible.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I think there's a motion on the floor to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 7.8, Public Works Director Getzman is requesting authorization to award the combined sewer treatment plant to dredging project to Synagro in the amount of $549,795.50.
For the motion and second discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. This evening is the last council meeting for several of our councilors, and I'd like to take a moment to recognize their very dedicated and hard service over the period of time that they have served. First, Councilor Bridge, a councilor from 2nd District from July 16 of 2002 to April 3rd of 2013. In appreciation of your hard work and dedication to the citizens of your district and the numerous committees you served on for the betterment of this community, specifically the Development Association, the Finance Committee, Parks and Recreation Commission, and Plan Commission, you led the effort to protect and maintain Wisconsin Point, including establishing a vehicular curfew on the point, prohibiting beach fires on Eloise Bay beaches, increasing the fine for dumping, and most important, securing state funds to develop a formal plan for the future of Wisconsin Point. You also spent many hours in developing the Wisconsin Point Plan, as well as the 2010 Master Park Plan. You would be characterized as a passionate advocate for parks, trees, the waterfront, and natural areas. We thank you, Tom, on behalf of myself, the Common Council, and the citizens of Superior. We thank you for your service. I also want to say that, before we go further, that everybody in this room, public service in this day and age is sometimes not a fun thing and not very much appreciated by many who don't understand and know the depth of the dedication that's provided by people that serve in the elected as well as the service positions within government. And councilors in particular spend a lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of research, and considerable time away from family, their jobs, and other things they must attend to. And it's just gratifying to find and see that so many fine people do take the opportunity and also step up, if you will, to serve the residents of this community as well as you and others have had across this spectrum. Thank you very much. Councilor Stenberg is not with us this evening, but I'd like to read hers also. Councilor Jackie Stenberg, the councilor from the 4th District, she served from April of 2011 to this day in 2013. In appreciation of your hard work and dedications to the citizens of your district and the numerous committees you served on for the betterment of this community, specifically license and fees, public education and government access, urban forestry, and the tree board. You had also served your district from April 2003 to April 2008. Thank you for your commitment and your passion to serve the citizens of Superior. On behalf of the mayor, the Common Council, and the citizens, we will transmit this appreciation to Jackie. The third one presented to Lou Martin, Councilor 6th District, January 2013 to April 2013. Lou volunteered to step up in the absence and the resignation of Len Joyle to fill out the remaining portion of his term. There should be a lot more on here, Lou, because you've, shall we say, been around a long time, and in various capacities of government and public service as well as in the private sector. But in appreciation for your hard work and dedication to the citizens in your district, the numerous committees you served on for the betterment of this community, specifically Park and Recreation Commission, Plan Commission, Superior Senior Center, we also want to thank you for your very many years of commitment to this city, the county, and the surrounding areas. On behalf of the citizens of Superior, the Common Council, and myself.
Item 8.1, Mayor Hagan is establishing the Wisconsin Point Plan Implementation Committee by appointing the following members: Tom Bridge, Nick Dance, Keith Allen, John Gojelski, and Chuck Walt.
For the motion and second to approve, I want to point out the fact that a much larger group of people from all spectrums across this particular county and beyond have served very well in developing the Wisconsin Point Plan. I want to recognize Councilor Bridge as one of the spearheading leaders for the acquisition of the funding to make that study happen, and his solid relationship with the folks downstate in the DNR to make that happen, as well as his very solid foundation with regard to the Fond du Lac Tribe and Chairwoman Guyver. So we appreciate that. And it doesn't say, it says Citizen Bridge, and that's kind of a misnomer at this moment, but Citizen Bridge, I'm hoping, will become chairman of this particular group to implement the fine recommendations that have been forwarded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I'm sorry, Councilor?
I just want to jump ahead. We have a little business for 9, Councilor business. It's not on there, but
Okay. Item 9, business by councilors.
yeah, I just want to thank Councilor Stenberg for her service, not only this term but also previous terms, as well as Councilor Bridge. And I really great that he has taken beautiful parcel of land as Wisconsin Point under his wings, and I think him serving on this committee is an excellent choice. And then also I want to thank Lou. There was talk, well, should we just leave that district empty until this time of the year? And Lou stepped in. He felt that the citizens need representation. So I want to thank him for doing that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Vice President McKenzie?
My sentiments to all of the outgoing councilors. Thank you very much for their service. And Mayor, like you talked about with Lou, he's not shy about saying that he's 96 years old. He's done so many things in this community, and he served on the county board, and he's been in radio, he's been in television, and he's quite a celebrity as well, because he's the only person that I know of that had lunch with John and Jackie Kennedy. And so he's quite the man about town. So I mean, I really admire him, and thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
I can't help myself. It's my last chance.
Motion to adjourn.
Once in my time here, I wanted to do that during a meeting and have it end abruptly with a lot of business still on the table. Tonight isn't exactly the night I'm hoping. Although we got a second to that, do we have to? I knew this day had come. I had no idea it'd be this long. I mean, it's been almost 11 years. So that was, I thought of a lot of things to say, and there were a couple different scenarios in which I would say them, and I'm just so thankful things turned out the way they did yesterday. I can't even begin to tell you. I don't have to point out how lucky you all are, as well as the people in the rest of the city of Superior in the 2nd District. Also, on a serious note, that I've got to know a lot of really great people, and the people that run this city and that are involved in city government are absolutely some of the best. You get the other end of the spectrum when you do this as well. Mayor, you mentioned, some of the things you go through and how you get beat up, and that, it's been a long time, but I walked out of here wanting to wear a mask on a number of occasions. And not, talk to anybody. But, there's something, even when it was contentious, I was enjoying myself. That's maybe something that's a little bit sick about me. But, there's nothing wrong with a good fight. So thanks very much for everything everybody's done. I've had a good time.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
I'd like to thank everybody. I was on the county board before, and we only have one meeting a month on the county board. And you have 2 a month over here, so naturally the minutes could be read and the meeting would be over. But generally on the county board, we'd go for a couple of hours, and sometimes I'm here and there's a lever underneath your seat that you can pull, and then the seat goes up, and I'm doing that, and the meeting's over. So I'd like to thank everybody for their cooperation. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Item 10.1 is the resolution of the City of Superior authorizing the transfer of land located on Connors Point to the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Superior.
What is a pleasure? See no lights, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 10.2 is a resolution introduced by Councilor Brown supporting the proclamation of International Migratory Bird Day in the City of Superior.
Councilor Brown, motion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, you know, Superior is still a beautiful place, and, you know, birds don't like to cross big bodies of water, and that's why they really hang around here. Well, not exactly hang around, but this is a migratory route for a lot of the birds traveling back and forth in the United States in spring and winter. And, you know, there's a lot of people that come to look at that. And so it draws a lot of tourists to our area. And the City of Superior has been very diligent in protecting birds. And I have another resolution coming up about cats also. So I just would like to encourage you to vote for this, because it's a good resolution, and it will bring a lot of people to the City of Superior. And thank you, Lou.
There's a motion by Councilor McDonald. Is there a second? Second. Heard a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 10.3 is a resolution introduced by the Community Development Division setting a public hearing for May 7th for the 2012 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report.
Heard a motion and second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 10.4 is a resolution introduced by Councilor Olson to call upon American Crystal Sugar Management to end the lockout and negotiate a fair contract.
Motion approved.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? Councilor?
If you guys get a chance, really look at this close, because it involves crystal sugar, which we all use, you know, and there's a plant that the people were locked out, and it's affected 2 states. It's affected over 20 cities. People were denied unemployment, and it had to get to the Supreme Court to allow people to get unemployment insurance. And it's key that this word insurance is a part of this, because we have some plants here that this could happen to us too. The fact is that when there's lockouts, it just takes so much away from people. So I was really happy to get on board with some other people and in the resolved and the further resolved. It's just that the City of Superior, they'll be forwarding this resolution to Crystal Sugar and let them know that we've got concerns, and we need to stick up for ourselves, our families, our people at work, no matter what kind of industry it is, whether it's organized or unorganized. It's just, there's so this reaches so many people. You don't realize where crystal sugar is and how often you use it, and then the people that depend on making that sugar for us, for themselves, they're all of a sudden just not working. And the problem is right now is they brought in migrant workers from south of the border. So anyway, I appreciate the support in this.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 10.5, a resolution introduced by the Common Council of the City of Superior approving a 3-year harbor development statement of intentions for the years 2013 through 2016.
Heard a motion and second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
11.1 has been referred to the Public Works Committee under item 6.21, item 1. 11.2 is an ordinance introduced by the Building Inspection Department repealing and recreating Chapter 104, the Property Maintenance and Housing Code of the City of Superior.
Heard a motion and second to approve. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
11.3 is an ordinance introduced by the Parks and Recreation Administrator repealing Chapter 90, Article 5, Weed Control.
Heard the motion and second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
11.4 is an ordinance introduced by the Common Council amending the traffic code, disabled parking zones by adding 907 Hammond Avenue on one side.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Got a motion and second to adjourn. All in favor? We stand adjourned.